You ever think about this? What if the exact same personality trait that lets someone land rockets on tiny ships in the middle of the ocean is the very same trait that makes them pick a fight on the internet at 3 in the morning? Well, that's the central paradox of Elon Musk. For years, we've all been debating if he's a hero or a villain. But, maybe that's just the wrong question entirely. In this explainer, we're going to dig into this paradox and ask something totally different. Is all the chaos that seems to follow him around a bug that undermines his genius, or is it actually the engine that powers the whole thing? And really, it all boils down to these two conflicting ideas. On one side, you've got what his biographer, Walter Isaacson, calls an epic sense of mission. That's the engineer, totally obsessed with solving problems people call impossible, the guy driven to make humanity a multiplanetary species. But on the other side, a craving for drama, this compulsion he has to operate in what he himself calls crisis mode. These two forces are just constantly at war, and they pretty much define his entire career. So to really get the full picture, let's first look at the positive side of this equation, the monumental, just undeniable technological progress he's been behind. This is the architect persona, the variable that built his entire legend. I mean, the scale of his impact on the space industry is just staggering. Before SpaceX, space was this stagnant old boys club. The cost to launch a single kilogram on the space shuttle, over $50,000. This is where Musk's favorite mental tool, first principles thinking, comes into play. See, instead of asking how to make existing rockets a little bit better, he asked, what is a rocket actually made of? Aluminum alloys, titanium, copper, what do the raw materials cost? By building up from there, he figured out he could make rockets from scratch for about 2% of the typical price. And the key, the absolute game changer, was mastering reusability, something everyone else thought was basically science fiction. And that brings us to this number, 70%. That's the estimated cost reduction they achieved just by reusing the most expensive part of the rocket. Now, this isn't just a small improvement. This is a fundamental shift in the entire industry. A 70% price drop completely changed the economics of space. It made these wildly ambitious projects, like the thousands of satellites in the Starlink constellation, financially possible for the very first time. And that disruption in cost, it just fueled an incredible, rapid-fire track record of innovation. You have to remember that 2008 success only happened after 3 straight, heartbreaking failures that almost bankrupted the entire company. But from that moment on, the pace has been absolutely relentless. Landing that first booster in 2015, and then just 5 years later, sending NASA astronauts to the ISS, these are things that used to be only for global superpowers, and a private company pulled it off. Okay, but for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? And in Musk's world, the reaction to all that progress often seems to be self-inflicted chaos. So now let's look at the other variable in our equation, the disruptor persona, the impulsive and, often destructive side of his personality. This tweet from 2018 is a perfect case study. It was impulsive, it sent markets into a frenzy, and as the SEC later found, it was misleading. The fallout was huge. We're talking tens of millions in fines, a massive shareholder lawsuit, and Musk was even forced to step down as Tesla's chairman. It just showed the immense power he has to create total chaos with just a few characters. And then, of course, came the Twitter takeover, which was basically a masterclass in whiplash-inducing decision-making. From offering to buy it, to trying to back out, to finally closing the deal and just executing this chaotic overhaul. The whole thing felt less like a thought-out business strategy and more like a massive impulse buy. His biographer even noted that Musk, who was bullied as a kid, finally had the chance to own the playground. For his critics, it's just reckless. For his supporters, it's just how he breaks old, stuffy systems. Now, this chaos has very, very real consequences that go way beyond online drama. According to the Axios Harris poll, in just 1 year, Tesla's public reputation completely collapsed. It tanked from a respectable 33rd place all the way down to a dismal 83rd, suddenly ranking alongside some of the most distrusted companies in America. And analysts directly point to Musk's polarizing actions and controversies as the owner of X as the cause. And that reputational damage? It hit them right where it hurts, the bottom line. This is the result, a 13% drop in sales for Tesla in the first quarter of 2025. That was its worst performance in years. All of a sudden, the chaos wasn't just a sideshow. The Tesla brand, once synonymous with this clean, tech-forward future, became tangled up in its founders' controversies, and it directly alienated a huge chunk of its potential customers. It proved that the chaos variable has a real, tangible cost.
Okay, so we've got these two powerful conflicting forces, right? We have the world-changing progress from the architect, and we have this value-destroying disruption from the agent of chaos. So how do we put these two pieces together to figure out his net impact?
Let's try to think about it with this simple equation. For most of his career, that technological progress number was so enormous, so undeniably huge, that the social chaos part was seen as just a minor deduction. It was the acceptable price you paid for genius, right? His eccentricities were just part of the package that got us reusable rockets and a revolution in electric cars.
But here's the thing. What's happened recently, especially since the whole Twitter thing, is that the social chaos variable has started to grow exponentially. It's not a minor issue anymore. Like we saw with Tesla's numbers, the chaos is now actively subtracting value from his technological achievements. It's threatening the balance of the entire equation. The same impatience that fuels his innovation is now fueling self-sabotage.
Which leaves us with one final, and I think pretty provocative question. It kind of suggests that you just don't get the visionary who revolutionizes space travel without also getting the disruptor who breaks all the rules and norms. That relentless drive just doesn't seem to have an off switch. So his story has really become a race, but it's not against competitors. It's a race against himself. It's a battle between his immense capacity to create and his equal capacity to destroy. And the real question that will define his legacy isn't just about him, but is about us. Are we willing to accept the chaos that comes with game-changing genius? And maybe more importantly, can he build a city on another world faster than his public persona can tear down his empire on this one?